Welcome everyone to our first gathering of the academic year. I'll ask your patience with an address that's slightly longer than I and probably you also would prefer. But as you know, there's lots of things going on this year that I want to take time to share with you. Janus was the Roman god of beginnings and endings. He was a god with special vision, empowered to see with great clarity both into the past and into the future. And therefore especially important to the Romans in times of personal or societal transition. For example, the birth of children, the celebration of marriage, the passage of the seasons. I evoke Janus with you today because we at New Paltz are in a special time of transition. Our 2010-11 academic year is off to a great start, but it also brings a period of great challenge. We're in the midst of a time of persistent, deep fiscal difficulty and a change in leadership. To emerge even stronger, even better, we have to draw up on our strengths. We must, in a way, look backwards like Janus. We must also look forward with confidence and with a clear, focused idea of our direction as we move to adapt our institution to new times and new conditions. That great American philosopher Yogi Berra offered the advice, if you come to a fork in the road, take it. When I was introduced to you about a year ago as your new provost, I never imagined that I would be standing here now as your interim president. But I came to this fork in the road and agreed to contribute to the college in this way and at this special time, and I'm committed to doing the best job that I can. We, of course, regret the departure of Steve Poskancer as president. Some of us had the opportunity to attend his inauguration in Minnesota last weekend and feel further closure on his time here, as well as great excitement for Steve in his new endeavor as president at Carleton. But it's indicative of our quality and our strength that one of the finest liberal arts colleges in the country came to New Paltz to find its new president. And it was an expression of confidence in our quality and direction that Chancellor Zimpfer looked internally at New Paltz for interim leadership rather than bringing in someone from outside to force a change in direction, as has been true for other campuses. These things reflect the profile and the reputation that the college has achieved in the higher education community and in the SUNY system, and are signs that we should have confidence in the trajectory that we've been on. We must therefore focus on reinforcing our strengths and our priorities and continuing to get better at what we do well. At the same time, we can't be complacent. While we search for a new president, we have to make the major decisions that will keep us strong, vibrant, and fiscally sound. There's an old maritime saying that you never cut your engines in rough seas, and I think that's a useful metaphor for us during the current year. Think also of a relay race. Runners do the best they can during their leg and then pass the baton on to the next runner. I aim to carry the baton as interim president so as to keep the college moving ahead and then hand over leadership to a new president without major disruptions or changes of course. I think very much about the future of the college and about what we must continue to build during this transition. I intend to assure that we focus on sustaining our direction, maintaining and strengthening existing relationships, building new relationships, and pursuing ongoing and new efforts. This will best position a new leader and our institution to be successful. For the past decade and longer, the college has provided access to high-quality public education. We serve students in the state as a selective residential public liberal arts college, and our profile and reputation have grown on that basis. You saw our climb in the recent U.S. News and World Report rankings. While rankings have their detractors, this recognition for our accomplishments and profile should be a source of pride for our collective work. In the spirit of Janus and looking back over the past few years, it's clear that our successes stem from focus and commitment to mission and vision. The 8 elements of our vision plan have served us well. We must remain committed to them and to our niche of providing high-quality educational opportunities to citizens of New York. We rightly recognize and celebrate our strengths and our values as we look ahead. And these include a personalized residential college experience where students, faculty, and staff learn together through close interaction, a high standard of rigor and academic expectation made possible by faculty of exceptional quality who are committed to students and their learning and to conducting leading scholarship that informs their teaching and provides learning opportunities for students. Intellectually capable and committed students who are able to rise to the challenges that we provide. A commitment to sustaining an open and diverse college community. And this value considers many dimensions of diversity, including socioeconomic background, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender, political views, physical disability, and many others. Fostering a spirit of exploration, discovery, and artistry that prepares students to excel in a rapidly changing society and economy that demands creativity and worldliness. A commitment to educating each student as a whole person, and being an intellectual and cultural hub in the Hudson Valley. Some of these features are most often identified with private liberal arts colleges, but our aim is to develop and refine such attributes as a public institution. You and your work and that of our students has kept us advancing on these fronts. I want to spend a few minutes here highlighting some of our accomplishments of the past year and acknowledging the faculty, staff, and students who conduct the essential work of the college. A college is as good as the people who come together in this very special intellectual enterprise of teaching, learning, and expanding knowledge. And I want to say a few words about the people who make up the New Paltz community. Consistent with our vision, we continue to attract an exceptional and diverse group of students. I hear from long-term faculty and staff how much you enjoy our students and how they're better prepared, more capable, and more engaged than even a few years ago. And that certainly is reflected in trends of increasing high school rank and SAT scores in successive student cohorts. We continue to maintain a highly diverse class. This year, about 27% of our first-year students are from historically underrepresented groups and reflect the many other dimensions of diversity that I mentioned. As a comprehensive college, our focus is on students and their learning, and this means that a commitment to high-quality teaching and learning among faculty and staff is essential. Our faculty engage students in and out of the classroom, help them develop intellectual capacities, knowledge, and understanding, guide their research and capstone projects, aid in their academic and personal development, and explore and implement new ways to foster meaningful learning and intellectual engagement. Our students also learn extensively out of the classroom, and our staff in student affairs, athletics, residence life, and many other areas both support the academic endeavors of our students and provide high-quality learning experiences outside of the classroom. These are key contributions to our students and their growth and learning. We hire faculty who are committed to their research and scholarship, balanced in the right way with commitments to students and their learning. This has been and unquestionably must remain key to our central vision. Our faculty continue to make impressive research and scholarly contributions. You also engage students as collaborators on faculty scholarly projects and mentor our students' independent projects. This linkage of faculty scholarship and student intellectual growth is another of our vision points. Consistent with our vision plan and despite budgetary uncertainties, we've continued to hire new tenure-track faculty at a time that some other SUNY campuses have imposed hiring freezes. We hired 14 tenure-track faculty and several full-time lecturers this year, and you soon will be introduced to your new colleagues. They're an exceptional group with degrees and teaching experiences from institutions such as the University of Arizona, Indiana State, Columbia, and Purdue. And we've just authorized 11 searches for tenure-track faculty this year to begin next year. This is good news, even if it's not at the level that we would all like it to be. Of course, first and foremost, we're here to educate students well, and indicators of student success are central to measuring our institutional success. Our retention and graduation rates continue to climb and to exceed by substantial margins the national averages for four-year colleges and universities, both public and private. Our graduation and retention rates for students from traditionally underrepresented groups also are well above national averages and reflect the important contributions that we make to providing access to high-quality educational experiences for all New York citizens. The people who make up a college are its most important asset, but the facilities where we teach, learn, perform, study, and think do matter. We want students and faculty to be able to interact in the best ways possible in and out of the classroom, to gain access to information and technology, to work effectively, and to be inspired. Even though many of us think that the quality of the academic experience should be the driving factor in college choice, there's no question that students and their parents care about the caliber of our campus environment. Like it or not, this is one aspect of our competition for students, and it's a reality that will become more pressing in the coming years as the number of New York high school graduates declines. We need personality and good looks. This is my favorite mug. So in that vein, I do want to share some of the key construction and renovation projects that we focused on this past year, some of which will be continuing during the current year. The wonderful addition to our student union building, the Atrium, is complete, and it's bringing new life and energy to the campus and to our students. And if you've not spent time there, I really encourage you to do so. Hopfer House, which is home to our admissions and alumni offices, has had an external refurbishing and takes its place as a source of pride in the public face that we present to visitors. The renovation of Old Main is progressing. We plan to occupy that building next summer, including all 3 floors of the south wing envisioned in our original planning. And this spring, we will begin what we call a gut renovation of Crispell Hall, which is one of our older residence halls. We are completing a space use master plan that will provide critical data to support future capital requests to improve our physical environment and facilities. And the major conclusion of this report is that we have many unmet space and building needs relative to other SUNY comprehensive campuses. Planning continues on our new science building and on the renovation of Worcester and the library. I want to take an opportunity to thank all the faculty and staff and students who have given input to the design and programming of these buildings. This has been a great contribution. I also want to acknowledge the great work that our staff and facilities have been doing to advance these projects. Last year as provost, I was heavily involved in planning the academic portions of these spaces and will remain involved in this effort this year to ensure as much continuity as possible in administrative support for these projects. Enough of looking back. I want to turn now to the immediate future and some of the major tasks and opportunities that we face this year. I believe most of you know that the presidential search has begun. A broadly representative search committee that includes faculty, staff, student members is central to this process. The committee has helped craft announcements, will review applications, conduct off-campus as well as on-campus interviews, select candidates to come to campus, and recommend finalists. The position announcement is posted on our website. Advertisements have been placed, first one coming out yesterday in the Chronicle, and the search consultant is busy networking to attract a robust and diverse applicant pool. And this obviously is one of our most important undertakings this year. Our Middle States reaccreditation process is well underway. The self-study document is nearing completion and will be made available this fall for your review. The chair of our external review team will visit in early November to assess our readiness for the visit by the site team, which is currently scheduled for mid-April. So stay tuned for more about this process. I want to take an opportunity here to thank the many people, literally hundreds of people, who have worked hard on our self-study, and especially Interim Provost Laurel Garrick Dehaney and Linda Greeno, Professor Linda Greeno. Linda, are you here? These two have been the co-chairs of the steering committee, and I want to also acknowledge Professor Sue Books, who is pulling together the final self-study document. I want to extend a special thanks also to Associate Vice President Ray Schwartz and Professor Chris Backus for all that they have done to get our assessment house in order. And I think many of you are aware that this is a hot button issue in regional accreditation throughout the country. Another element of our vision is to offer a curriculum that prepares students for successful lives and careers. Given the pace of change in the world that our graduates will inherit, we need to regularly review and revise our curriculum. 2 significant academic initiatives are underway this year, and I encourage your involvement in both. First, you've recently heard about this year's series of discussions, brainstorming, and information gathering about our core educational goals, values, and aspirations for our students. This effort will set the stage for review and revision of our general education plan next year. Second, we'll consider how we can build on the successes of our current honors program to make these wonderful learning opportunities available to more of our students across more disciplines and majors. Professor Patricia Sullivan and a really dedicated and engaged committee have been leading this effort and will continue to do so. In addition, Interim Provost Garrick Dehaney and I will continue to be attentive to ways that we can improve our graduation and retention rates while sustaining high quality and rigorous standards. As this blog post from the Chronicle of Higher Education suggests, rather than looking for kind of big bang ideas, we may have opportunity to gain ground by carefully evaluating the way we do our work and exploring simple steps to serve students better. Potential points of focus here include improved advising, more thoughtful course scheduling that minimizes conflicts between required courses, the structure of our degree requirements, and attention to courses in which students have high failure or withdrawal rates. We need to be concerned also about declines in our graduate enrollments that have been cropping up the past several years, and we'll be attentive this year to invigorating our programs and exploring those where we have the greatest opportunities for growth. The next several efforts that I'll outline represent batons that I'll carry this year and hand off to the new president. One of these is the continuation of a comprehensive campaign to raise private funds to support our work. In an era of dwindling state funding for higher education, public colleges like New Paltz have increasingly relied on the support and generosity of friends and alumni who are committed to our programs and our students. While philanthropic giving has long been an important part of our program and has increased gradually over time, we've not conducted a focused, major, comprehensive fundraising campaign. We began work on this campaign, the background at least, this past year, and this work continues at full pace during the current year, even though the campaign will not bear significant fruit for a number of years to come. Our work this year will focus on expanding the number of prospective donors and on understanding whether our goals and priorities and how we present these pull at the heartstrings of prospective donors. Doing this work now will set the stage for the new president to launch the formal campaign when he or she arrives. The priorities in our case statement, which are built with feedback from many of you through your deans, focus on big picture opportunities that span departments and schools and that carry promise for truly transforming the experience of our students and changing our contributions to the region. These fall into three broad areas: supporting academic quality and opportunities for students, global education, including study abroad scholarships, and regional relationships and engagement. And you'll learn more about this endeavor in the coming months. Another baton is to begin exploring the alignment of our campus goals and priorities with those of Chancellor Nancy Zimpfer's strategic plan for the SUNY system, the power of SUNY. This is something that the Chancellor is expecting of all campus presidents, expecting with a capital E, I might add, and we owe it to our new president to begin this process, which he or she can guide to completion next year. Furthermore, we'll be exploring new initiatives that enhance our contribution to these broad goals of the power of SUNY. Every campus needs to be prepared for disasters with a sound emergency management plan and a level of readiness that will allow it to respond effectively, and most importantly and immediately in safeguarding human lives. We have a thoughtful and thorough emergency management plan, and our campus police and other offices are well prepared and trained to deal with the initial steps of a disaster. But the Cabinet and I are concerned about the depth and breadth of our preparedness throughout the organization. We've not communicated our plan broadly or trained members of the campus community or even emphasized the importance of such training. During this year, we will take steps to improve our overall level of preparedness, something that I feel is important for us to remedy before the new president comes on board. I'm developing and refining structures to improve effective communication and information sharing throughout the college. Many of you have heard of a group that we call the WONKs. That's no backwards. This is an important leadership group on campus that gives advice and counsel to the president and the cabinet. We recently clarified and formalized the role of this group to reinforce its importance as a communication link between campus leadership and units across the college, including serving as a conduit for bringing information and concerns to the president and the cabinet. We're also establishing a next level grouping, tentatively to be called an administrative council, to include all of those people along with other assistant vice presidents, directors, associate deans, and department chairs that will meet once or twice each semester to foster broader opportunity for discussion and sharing of information throughout the college in all directions. Finally, you soon will receive an invitation to the first of a series of brown bag lunches that I will hold with groups of faculty and staff to discuss whatever issues are on your minds. And I look forward to these discussions and hope that you'll consider taking part. So far, I've reflected on opportunities and achievements that excite and interest us and are the reason that we're here. And making good things happen for students, faculty, and staff is one of the rewards for being a college administrator. But as we've shared with you in previous messages, we face an immediate budgetary shortfall and the sure prospect of fiscal uncertainty that will continue for years to come. As you know, Vice President DeStefano and I will hold a forum next week to outline the process by which we will address our budget shortfall. I want to take time here to offer a few thoughts about that process and its context. As I've described previously, public higher education has over the past decades lived through multiple cycles of short-term economic downturn. These are typically followed by recovery and conditions more friendly to colleges and universities. We in college communities learn to hunker down, tighten our belts, and live temporarily with reduced resources while realistically expecting relief. Many informed and careful analyses conclude that the current and near future outlook for public higher education is fundamentally different, and that we are in a low period that's going to be of longer duration, one that will require bolder responses and more significant structural changes. I shared with you in my memo a month or so ago an article by Daniel Hurley that's well regarded nationally and is informed by careful study of state-level higher education policy and funding. Hurley suggests that institutions like ours need to reassess priorities, to focus more specifically on core elements of our mission, and to reinvest in those priorities. He writes further that public colleges and universities such as ours must become more sharply focused on the student experience and reclaim in more concerted ways our public mission. Finally, Hurley argues that campus cultures that are predisposed to and have capacity for implementing change is vital. Hurley is far from alone in such analyses and conclusions, and other forward-looking institutions are adjusting who they will be and what they will do. As in other states, we in New York can hope that our state legislature and executive leaders will make decisions in the coming years to better support public higher education. However, recent history gives little reason to be optimistic, despite the efforts of SUNY leaders, campus presidents, and the unions. Economic and other analyses suggest that state revenues available for legislative allocation in the coming years will be constrained, and there will be great competition from healthcare, public safety, and K-12 education, leaving little new support for higher education. An article in the Chronicle of Higher Education this very week stated that New York public higher education administrators and union officials are, and I quote the article, skeptical that the new governor, whoever he is, will be able to protect higher education from another round of budget cuts, end quote. It would be irresponsible for me and for Cabinet to plan a budget for the future based merely on the hope of renewed state funding. So the time is right for us to think about a different future, to rethink new pulse, and decide how we can do things differently. The budget difficulty that we face demands that we prioritize in ways that will better position us for the future, Many other institutions have faced equally severe budgetary challenges and attacked them head-on to emerge stronger and more vibrant. I'm confident that we can do the same, and I hope that we see and seize the opportunity that's embedded in this challenge. To adjust our economy, we, as a leadership team and a campus community, will engage in a consultative process that will inform careful but clear decisions. Vice President DiStefano and I will be distributing information about this process before next week's forum, and I encourage each of you to review that information and to participate. Your information and consultation is critically important for us to make sound decisions. I want to be certain that everyone distinguishes between consultation and decision-making. I'm aware of the sentiment that consultation is seen by some as a cover for the administration to blur the lines of responsibility for difficult decisions. As I reminded you in the recent forum, I will not put faculty and staff in the position of making budgetary decisions, including those that affect personnel. These roles and responsibilities of decision-making and consultation must not be confused. The formalization of the charge to the WONC group that I mentioned a few minutes ago clarifies that WONC is explicitly a consultative and advisory group, not a decision-making body. But again, to make informed decisions, we need your insights and your guidance. Let me note another key distinction between consultation and decision-making. Consulting wisely and well need not result in decisions that are a hybrid, a blend of all of the input and ideas received. The decisions that we make require judgment, a careful weighing of conflicting information and values. All input may not, indeed should not, have equal impact on any final decision. I want to offer a few comments about some of the ideas that have been brought forward in previous consultation and share my thinking about how these will fit into our current planning. As a campus, we're heavily invested in personnel. We're aware of the many retirements in recent weeks and know how much these colleagues will be missed. We're sensitive to job loss and want to do everything that we can to safeguard jobs. But it's not feasible to adjust our economy to the degree that we must without impacting positions. Taking all cuts from non-personnel items would cause severe harm to the quality of the institution and our programs, perhaps creating an institution at which where few of us would want to work, and in many ways putting the future of the college at risk. We do need to look for savings in non-personnel areas, but most such savings that accrue will need to be reallocated for inflationary obligations. In reducing our budgets, we can minimize impacts on current personnel by working together to make programmatic adjustments by rethinking how we do our work. The departure of so many colleagues through early retirement is clearly a loss to the campus, but it also presents us with an opportunity to reorganize our work with a reduced workforce. The suggestion is often made that we can address our economic issues by increasing enrollment. In nearly every respect, our campus is at capacity. Residence halls are full, food service and other facilities are tapped, and there are other indications that we cannot accommodate more students without sacrificing quality. Furthermore, and this is a really important point, SUNY's system is anticipating caps on new undergraduate admissions, which means that enrolling more students, even if we could do that, would not produce more revenue. So this is not a strategy that we can consider. We watch new buildings going up and others being renovated. The State University Construction Fund is a separate pot of money that I cannot use to pay operating costs, even if I wanted to. And we need to remember that this construction is a good thing. Many of our buildings and spaces are inadequate and outdated. The projects that we're undertaking and planning are important investments in our future and are in a way catch-up for us after a long history of state underinvestment in our campus. So we want and encourage your ideas about how we might adjust our economy, but I hope these examples make clear that some approaches simply are not viable. We have to tackle our budget issue by thinking differently about our approaches and delivery and how we do our work, by asking hard questions about not being all things to all people, and by investing in our priorities. Again, Other institutions have done and are doing these things, and I'm confident that we can as well. I want to close by shifting gears to offer two illustrations about how we might collaborate as, like Janice, we look to the future. The first of these is drawn from my disciplinary background as a biologist and has to do specifically with interactions in times of diminished and diminishing resources. And then I'll draw upon an African American cultural story for further guidance. The field of biomimicry is concerned with studying nature's best ideas and imitating them in designs and processes to solve human problems. Examples include Velcro, inspired by seed dispersal mechanisms, non-toxic nanoscale paints, inspired by butterfly wing pigments, and passive cooling in high-rise buildings, inspired by air passages in termite mounds. The example I draw on today concerns interactions among biological organisms within a community, with particular reference to plant communities. Two key interactions that I'm concerned with today are facilitation, in which one species or organism has positive effects on another, meaning that having a neighbor is a good thing, and competition, in which one species or organism has negative effects on another, meaning having a neighbor is a bad thing. Ecologists have been interested in which of these interactions prevails in circumstances of differing resource availability and environmental stress. The example that I draw on is based on comparison of plant communities in high elevation alpine environments that are resource poor and very stressful places to live, compared with lower elevation, resource richer, less stressful settings. Ecologists have studied facilitation and competition in these communities by experimentally removing neighbors. If plants do better after a neighbor is removed, that suggests that competition has been the primary driver of community interactions. But if plants do more poorly after a neighbor is removed, then facilitation has been the dominant interaction. I think our natural instinct is to assume that in harsh environments where resources are very limited, competition would prevail. In reality, and to many people's surprise, studies show that in resource-poor, stressful, high-elevation plant communities, facilitation is by far the more common interaction. And this has been shown globally throughout the world. I don't want to offend anyone by overdrawing a parallel between our community and plants, but plants have developed some pretty amazing ways to deal with resource constraints, and we can learn from them. This simple example has opened the minds of hard-nosed businessmen and women about how to change their thinking about thriving in tough economic times, focusing on cooperation rather than competition. So I hope we can find inspiration here about how we might interact with and support each other during what are unquestionably difficult times. To extend this principle, biologists suggest that facilitation may be a key factor in evolutionary changes that qualify as quantum leaps in life on Earth, such as the evolution from single-celled to multicellular plants and animals. And many analysts of higher education predict that colleges and universities will emerge from the current recession as strong institutions, but very different from the way we are now. A focus on facilitation rather than competition may be one key to our success as a community in dealing with immediate resource constraints, and this in turn may help us make the important transitions to a stronger future. Now, still looking forward, I want to close with a story told by Renee McNeil. She's an African-American woman who performs one-person plays about the lives of black women throughout history. And this story carries a lesson about collective responsibility. An old blind woman in the community was considered an oracle. She was wise, had great insight, and helped people solve every problem that they brought to her. One year, some teenagers in the community had grown to resent her always being right and grew determined to prove this woman wrong. They thought, and finally they concocted a foolproof plan. They would catch a live songbird, hold it in their hand, and approach her to ask whether the bird was alive or dead, knowing that she could not see the bird. If she said that the bird was dead, they would let it fly away and prove her wrong. If she said that the bird was alive, they would crush it and prove her wrong. So they caught a bird, one of them took it in his hand, and as a group they approached her with the question. She thought for a few moments, threw her head back and laughed and told them, "It's in your hands, the answer's in your hands." So I intend to do my part to guide us during the current year, but I hope we each recognize that significant elements of the way we work together to move ahead this year are in all of our hands. Thank you for your attention and have a great year.